Hey folks, this is Jason Lewis, the producer of the From the Shadows podcast. I just want to remind you about our website, fromtheshadowspodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. We would appreciate it if you like and follow. Also, join our discussion group on Facebook called After the Shadows. We have a Twitter feed. Please follow us on Twitter. It can be found with @podcast_from. Follow us on Instagram at From the Shadows Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Go to the search bar at YouTube and put From the Shadows Podcast, and please subscribe to that channel. We are also on the Odyssey Radio Network, and we can be found there at odyssey1.com. We're still on the traditional podcatchers that everybody loves to listen to us on. We get a lot of feedback, so please rate the podcast and communicate with whether you're on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. We're there, and we appreciate it when you leave comments for us. Well, that's all I have for you right now, folks, and thanks for being a part of the From the Shadows podcast family. So with that being said, let's get this episode started. Now I'm going to turn you over to your host, Shane Grove.
Hey everyone, it's Shane Grove, host of the From the Shadows podcast. We are putting together a Patreon page for From the Shadows podcast listeners. And what a Patreon page is there's different levels of patronage that you guys can sign up for if you choose to. What it does is it helps us with a little bit of support from you guys. Keep doing what we're doing, buy some new equipment, make sure that we can keep everything running and sounding good or much better, let's hope. But with that, there's lots of unique gifts and rewards and merchandise that's available by being a Patreon, including a special episode each month by the judge, another special episode every month by the Ozark Howler, and at least one listener episode where we take a story from one of our listeners and share it with everybody. So we will have the information out about that on our Facebook pages, After the Shadows, and the From the Shadows podcast page, as well as our Instagram account. We'll tell everybody how they can find that and become a Patreon of the show. And we certainly appreciate all the support our listeners have given us.
Hey, as we start this week's episode of the Midweek Howl, Howler and Jason, I want to bring up the point that last week we hit number one in Iceland. Can you guys believe that? Number one, like the first country to make us number one. So do we think they know what they're doing, or they starved for entertainment in Iceland? What do you guys think?
Well, I think a little of both myself.
Well, I think what we're going to do, and we'll just, we'll throw it out there. We're going to dedicate a future episode on one of our regular Friday podcasts to Iceland. We'll see if we can do an episode on a cryptid from Iceland. Maybe bring on a expert or something, and see if maybe by next summer we can take a trip to Iceland, do a live show. What do you guys think about that?
I'd say that's a plan right there. We can do that.
Hey, I'm ready to go this afternoon. I think I told you that earlier. I'm ready to go this afternoon. That's the only thing I miss about being in Minneapolis. We had 5-hour trips. We'd be in Reykjavik for a nonstop from Minneapolis. So it'll take me longer to drive to the airport.
Yeah, well, since we're number one in Iceland right now, I want to give a shout out to strongman Hathor Bjornsson. You guys might know him as the Mountain on Game of Thrones.
Oh, do you suppose he listens to us?
I doubt it, but it'd be nice if he did and shares it on his social media. That'd be great.
Well, there's other, like Denmark and Ireland and Norway. Like we seem to have a pretty good following there. So maybe we could plan a little European trip next summer and go see some of our fans.
I definitely think we can do that.
What, yeah, I'm telling you, my family's sent money into IRA for 40 years, never got nothing for it. So
I shouldn't laugh about that, but the way you say it,
that's not. Yeah, that's that's just a shout out, to them. Anyhow, you just never know. Right?
Just kind of putting a little bug in there, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
How I know you with your job as an air marshal, you used to make a lot of trips to Europe. You got any Iceland stories?
I did. I actually turned down an Iceland story. A couple buddies of mine went, and I really regret it because when you're young, you think there's always going to be the next time, right? So and then I ended up retiring and riding off into the sunset. So I got a story. It's not my story. It's my buddy's story, right? Mm-hmm. So let's put that out there right now. It's my buddy's story.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I got this buddy of mine who was in the 1st Ranger Battalion down there at Fort Bragg in kind of a tough, he's my age, exactly my age. So this is 5 years ago. So he'd have been about 45, 46, but he's still in tremendous shape. He's not a real big guy, 5'8", 180 pounds or whatever, but he's still cut up. But anyway, he had lost some friends of his in Somalia back in 91 or 92, that was made famous with the Black Hawk Down movie. So as a tribute, he had a full back tattoo. And when I tell you he got this tattoo, it took him about 3 years to get this tattoo, right? One piece at a time. And it's very ornate, and it says Ranger across the back. From shoulder blade to shoulder blade, it says Ranger. And then from that Ranger tab on his back all the way down to his waistline is a depiction of an urban battlefield with the OH-6 helicopter flying over the top of it. And it's very ornate, and people that are into tattoos will know, you got a lot of different colors, and there's differences in tattoos. So he's up there at a place, and I think it was called the Blue Lagoon, I think. Now, don't hold me to it. There's a place up there called the Blue Lagoon, and it doesn't have anything to do with Brooke Shields. And
who's Brooke Shields?
Going into
Christopher Atkins.
Who?
See, isn't that the boy? Wasn't it Christopher Atkins?
Yeah, probably. He was never anything again, was he? He wasn't either. So anyway, so he's going, and they got these thermal wells where volcanic water comes out, and these people sit around in these resorts and just sit in the bubbling sulfuric water or whatever that comes out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
So he can't get any of his teammates to go with him, but he's a tough guy. So he says, I'll just go down there by myself. So he gets a bottle of liquor, and he goes down there, and he gets there, and there's a half a dozen beautiful Nordic women, he said, just exactly what you'd think you'd see in a volcanic water hot tub in Iceland, right? And he said,
did you say you wanted to go today? Because you're making.
I'd go this afternoon. I'd go this afternoon.
We go today because you're making it.
Yeah, I told you I'd go this afternoon. Mm-hmm. I just spent 3 days up in the North Woods with my boys deer hunting, and I'd be ready to go this afternoon. So he gets a bottle of liquor, and he goes down there, and there's a half a dozen beautiful Nordic women and a couple of guys. And I don't want to dispel, some of the guys in Europe. I don't want to stereotype, but they're just like here anyway. So he said there's about 6 girls and 2 dudes in this hot tub, and they say hello or something when they greet him when he walks in. He greets them back. They say, "Are you an American?" He said, "Yes." So he has this conversation with them, and he said they're treating him like he's a long lost friend or something. You know what I mean? They're talking, they're engaging. Where are you from? What are you doing? On and on and on. And at some point, he had to turn around and either get his bottle or get something. But when he turned around, and he said the second they saw that tattoo on his back, they flushed like a covey of quail. Now they don't have a lot of quail in Europe, so I don't know, partridge or something. But they all left without saying anything. And he said within seconds he was alone in that pool of bubbling water. And they even left part of them. The guys even left their liquor. So I guess his tattoo on his back frightened him of some sort. So.
So I think I would be safe because I don't have any tattoos. Although I think just taking my shirt off in public, no matter how bubbly and warm the water was, would probably scare them off just to begin with.
Well, I think as part of not to get in the international geopolitical conversation here because that's not what you tune in for, but I did a lot of time over there right after 9/11. I think I told you that in the beginning of Iraq, what we call the Iraq War. And there's an element of people over there that think Americans are just gun-toting warmongers, right? And then there's all of you guys. So there's some of them are just scared, right? Some of them are just scared. And anyway, Europe's a great place. I've told me and you had this conversation earlier, Shane. I've been to Europe 150 times, 200 times. I used to spend my summers in the Cotswolds. The people are there. They'll know where I'm talking about when I say Cotswolds. A little place called Bishop's Cleeve, right outside of GCHQ there. So yeah, it's a great place. I mean, I love it. I'm glad. I cherish the European fans more than I do the American fans.
Oh,
wow.
Well, maybe hold on. Can you back that out? I guess what I'm saying is it in some ways it surprises me more. It surprises me more.
It truly is amazing when Jason and I look at the numbers and we see people from all over the world tuning in to listen, and it's like, really? Like what? Like, do people really relate to some of the stuff we're talking about? And apparently, funny is funny, and Bigfoot's Bigfoot. Everybody enjoys it. So
Bigfoot is a universal language, just like comedy is a universal language.
Well, needless to say, I'm looking forward to building that bridge even better to our European fans. And definitely taking a trip next summer over and visiting fans in Iceland and Denmark and Norway and Ireland and having the Howler show us around.
Yeah, I tell you what, I thought I was going to get to go to Ohio. So that's even icing on the cake, Ohio first and then Europe second. I tell you.
You can come to Ohio first and you can talk to all your fans here because the Howler is a huge, huge success here in Ohio. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you slated in for a few public appearances.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Well, I was gonna say a deer camp. I could do deer camp appearances.
That would be great.
Yeah, I do deer camp appearances, and
I'll be there with my 300 Winchester mag.
Oh well,
Just remember, deer camp. Nobody's gonna throw fruit at you, but they all got loaded shotgun.
Well, I tell you, I don't want to brag, but I think you guys seen my boys. I'm a pretty astute deer guide for my kids now, and I think you guys seen this weekend. My 11-year-old killed a big old deer, so it'd been good whether it was in Ohio or here or anywhere.
Nice.
Thanks to his old man.
Tell him congrats from Jason the producer.
Well, speaking of that, I'll tell a quick hunting story. Speaking of Norway, here before we jump off, but there's this young man that from the area here. He's in the Marines. He's been stationed over in Norway, and when he comes back, my girlfriend's family's kind of adopted him as a, he's like kind of like an extra grandkid. And he comes and has dinner when he comes back, and he likes to hunt with Christy's dad and brother and stuff. And so he was here maybe 2 weeks ago, and here he went out to where on the part of the farm where he likes to hunt, and said he got down out of the deer stand, and here's a guy who's been through all the training to be a Marine, and is just, like I said, just got back from Norway, and said he got down on a stand and he started walking, and he said all of a sudden he heard something snorting behind him. Now, I'm not a big deer hunter, but apparently he knew enough to turn around because the snorting meant something like a buck was behind him. And he said he turned around, and like less than 20 feet from him was this big buck snorting, ready to charge. And the thing starts charging, and all he can do is pick up his rifle and shoot it. And he said, after he got done, he came up and said, I didn't know what to do. I was scared to death. And, he goes, I had to shoot it. And I turned to Christy. I said, well, if he was scared to death of a buck, let's hope he doesn't ever have to face off anybody in action, because that could be a little bit different story. But he did.
I tell you,
get the buck.
Well, I tell you what, I think he's worried about subconsciously. Buck lives matter this year, so I mean, he might be in trouble.
Well, on that note, everybody out there have a happy hunting season, and
be safe.
We'll talk to you next week.
Oh yeah. All right now.
That was a great one, Buck.
Buck lives matter. Absolutely.
I gotta get back to work. If you guys can see how many packages I got in the back of the mail truck, you guys would crap yourselves.
That'd be like some of them postal people we read about and just go dump them somewhere.
I wish I could. This is just nuts.
Hey now. Let's not do that. Let's not even throw that implication out there.
Hey, you only do that. You can only get away with it if it's Trump ballots.
I got this box of ballots I've been carrying around looking for a place to dump. So
if they need them. See if
don't start any campfires. We're gonna need everyone we can get.
Anyway, okay. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
See ya.
Take it easy now. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.